My name is Marty Suzanis, and I'm 72 years old. And 8 years ago, I received the Ellis Act eviction notice.
We've lived here in the South of Market for over 40 years, and it's been challenging, especially in the last 12 years. That's when we first experienced, eviction.
I've had a love affair with this city for over 50 years, and I really mean that truly. I mean, my heart and soul and everything here is my home. As a writer and someone who's been self-employed, I made enough money just to cover my basic needs. I live a simple life, creative life. So I had a really lovely home. And then they discovered this obscure law, this Ellis Act eviction law. And when the developers discovered this law, there was a tsunami of evictions.
And the Ellis Act is basically a way for landlords to get, and developers, right, to get around rent control ordinances. Basically, the law is simple. It simply says, if we have this property, it's a rental property, and we've got 30 families living in this building, how do we evict those 30 families, right? How do we do a no-fault eviction? It's not their fault that they're getting evicted. We're going to have a no-fault eviction. So we're going to get them out by way of just saying that this building is no longer going to be available for renting. We're going to take it off the rental market. If a landlord does that, a building owner does that, through the Ellis Act now, which is legal after 1985, they're able to then move out a lot of people that way.
I'm a single mom. I have 3 wonderful children. That's Marty, Huel, and Danny. And I don't know if anybody out there can feel, how we actually are hurting inside. We're now on our 4th time of going through an Ellis Act eviction.
Hello po. My name is Teresa Dulalas. I'm a single mom of 3. My dad has prostate cancer. I have a disabled sibling. We're a big family. And I make sure, that, we're united. They call me a strong person, but even though when you're a strong person, you sometimes feel na weak.
You would think that you would get used to it, but you don't. You never get used to it. Stress gets to it. Actually takes a toll on everybody's health. It's just amazing how, it actually affects your thoughts, even when you drive or even when you cook. It goes into your head.
When you're older and you think you've got a home for life and then you realize the rents around you are going up, I'll tell you, I lay awake nights in sheer terror. I can't even write anymore because I can't focus, and I have to find freelance jobs so that I can pay the rent, and I don't know how much longer I can do this because my health has started to fail.
Eviction and displacement does have negative association with mental health. So there have been studies that have shown that people who live in large cities basically experience depression as they're going through a displacement process or trying to fight displacement, and then also after they have been displaced. When you look at working parents that either have to care for their own kids or even older generations, there's already a lot of stress. Like, even if you're not going through displacement, there's a lot of pressure that they face just because they have to keep their household together. So when you add in another layer, it affects our physical bodies.
Gentrification, San Francisco's had a few major waves. Kearny Street had been about 10 blocks of Manilatown, and the last of that block was on Kearny Street in Jackson, which is where the first big fight to prevent gentrification happened.
In my 30s, I got involved in the international hotel struggle. They needed people. Well, there were many demonstrations which we went to, but they needed a key group of people to volunteer to be sleeping in the I Hotel with the tenants, to be there for them. We knew that these were all elderly people, they were poor people, and it just wasn't right. So the one thing that was so heartening about that was that there were so many people who did care. There were so many people who turned out. And that really was a really good feeling.
They're on their way now. The police are on their way.
We intend to peacefully resist this eviction. We intend to have many of our supporters as well as our tenants in the hotel ready on that day.
No law changes on its own. You have to have strong housing organizations and community organizations who are mobilized, who are organized in such a way that they can have constant pressure on City Hall, constant pressure on the state to make sure that the laws are favorable or at least fair enough for renters.
This bill would go a long way. There's a lot that needs to be done in San Francisco in terms of the housing crisis, and the Ellis Act is not the only culprit, but this bill would go a long way to filling the gap in San Francisco.
People really need to realize how much pain is involved when you're being forced out of your home, forced out of your city, and forced out of your entire community. How can you displace thousands of family and just throw people out on the street who have nowhere to go, seniors, people with not a lot of money, your artists, your writers, your musicians, your students? Once you beat people back long enough and hard enough, guess what? They start to fight back. I'm defending my home, and I'll fight until I can't fight anymore.